So my name's Heather Erdmann, and I have three businesses actually in the Pilates world. I have a
Mhm.
brick and mortar studio in Houston, Texas, and a teacher training company that is national and soon to be international.
Okay.
And I have a consulting firm where I work with studio owners, helping them to be more profitable, but mostly finding joy, which usually includes profitability
Yes.
in their business. Because I come to this industry from a business background, not from a
Mm,
movement background or any background having to do with movement. So I showed up on the scene with a pretty strong mind for business, and
okay.
then learned Pilates and how to teach and all of that
Right.
later in my life. So yeah.
And really, and we both know that is usually the gap, right? Because everyone comes in with their warm, fuzzy feelings of wanting to help people and change the world, and then realize that every job is a sales job.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yes. Yes. So what is coming at it from that lens, what have you learned, and what usually is your message to Pilates people who are now recognizing the cold realities of running a business?
Ooh, um, you know, with studio owners, first it's important to kind of identify how they got themselves in the place where they are. And oftentimes there's a lot of passion
Mhm.
and they're really good at what they do, right? But running a business is a special skill set. So if you showed up as an amazing teacher, that passion will certainly probably keep the lights on and pay the bills. But at the end of the day, you have an expensive job. You don't own a business. There's no freedom. You can't go on
Mhm.
vacation. You're struggling. You're worried. And that isn't really what anybody wants to sign up for. Or, if from a deeper point of view, if we're trying to be healers or, teaching Pilates and sharing the love for the passion for the type of movement that we teach, if we're bogged down with the fear of difficulties in our business, it makes it really hard to transmit anything positive.
Yes.
So we got to
Right.
start there,
Mhm.
identify how we got here. And then I'm a consultant, not a coach. So what that means is I'm not coaching someone to come to this on their own. I'm literally giving them what they pay me for is the blueprint of this is how you make a Pilates studio successful.
Right.
And so it's very much just process and procedure from there
Mhm.
and doing basically an autopsy on the business and implementing a blueprint, a strategy for keeping the business healthy and thriving and allowing that person to step out of the business so that they
Yes.
can go on vacation, take a day off, take a breather, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Now, what do you say to the person who needs a coach and not just a consultant? Because
Yeah.
there's gonna be people who come to you and are like, okay, this is what I need, but you look at them, you're like, you're not gonna follow through on any of these steps. So,
Yeah, I do basically an interview, and it's both ways to start and
mhm.
identifying if I'm a fit for them and they're a fit for me. What you started with was talking about before you pulled me in, niching. And, um, you know, when we look at it from a specifically selfish point of view, I also want to be happy while I'm doing my work. And so I don't
Mhm.
work with anyone who isn't going to be a good fit for me. So
Yes.
that interview is both ways. And if someone needs a coach, I'm very clear that that's not what I do. That's not my skill set. That's not my training.
Right.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to like pull something out of you. What I know how to do is show you what works and help you implement it.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I don't have the coaching skill set. So I just decline and wish them luck and stay in
Mhm.
touch.
Yeah. Nice. No, that's great. I love talking business and coaching. And when I was working at Lifetime Fitness for a long time as a personal trainer and working as an education specialist, that was the dialogue that we had a lot, where there's people who went to school for health and wellness promotion or Pilates or yoga, and then really struggled, even though they're amazing teachers.
Sure.
And then we saw, people would leave, and it was sad to see someone who was that skilled technically be that weak with their business acumen, and then there not be enough coaching that you can give in that short time frame to actually help them. So you're definitely meeting a need and filling a gap there.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, and letting people fill the right seat, right? So
Right.
you're scratching a little on, in my own brick and mortar studio. it's really common in this industry. One of the things that I help people with is it's really common for owners to expect, or managers to expect, the teachers to sell the service. So what I like to plant the seed for is teachers should teach really well. And a business should have an infrastructure where there's people who sell really well doing the selling. And that way the teacher can just teach. And there's a huge retention value in that. There's benefit in letting the teacher stay in their own lane and do what they're really good at. And I'm not talking about the unicorns who do both really well, but like your average person, if they're a really good teacher, that's, let's assume that that's what they do really well. And so as an owner or a manager, being able to leverage those strengths and not ask them to do something they're not good at. So to have a dedicated salesperson, front desk, whatever, allowing the teacher to do what they do best. And that's kind of one of the things that I help peel apart, because we oftentimes as owners put that responsibility, or managers, on our teachers, and they're just not, like, that's not in their personality. Right. So, and if it was, they might not be such a great teacher, speaking in generalities. So
yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the other part to that too is, as a Pilates instructor, we often get the idea that the gold star or the holy grail is to own our own bricks and mortar storefront, 5,000 square foot, 19 reformer machine, space. What do you say to that?
Yeah, if it's really something you want, right? I would say, as an owner, a healthy business. So if a business broker is looking at your business, a healthy business doesn't have the owner working in it. A sellable business has an owner that's not inside, because in order to sell it, you leave. If you are the business, then it's not viable. So in the business world, owner operator is like, this is a job you have. And you own yourself this job, and there's benefits there, right? I don't work for anyone else. I'm doing my passion, whatever. But I think that, the standard is, or the belief is, I need to own a studio. And then more than that is, once you own a studio, then the belief is you have to own more than one in order to be successful, right? The metric keeps moving. It's never enough. It's never good enough. Right. So one is, know what's involved in owning a business, ask other owners, take a course, right? Really understand the ins and outs, and make sure that that's something you want to do. It's not for everyone. And the other is, lean into people who have done it before. People who are out there operating businesses outside of the fitness industry use coaches and consultants and blueprints and process and procedure to run their business. We have sort of a blind spot to that in our industry. So don't be afraid to lean into the experts for help.
Yeah, right. Can you say some more about that blind spot? That is so true. Can you just expand on that?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, good to see you. The blind spot, it's everywhere. It's in every industry, but I'm really only an expert in ours, right? So what I see is a lot of follow the leader. But the leader was wrong to begin with. Where'd the leader get the information? Right. I also teach, I'm a mind body certified consultant, and I teach for their consulting course, consultants that are coming up in the ranks. And, oftentimes one of the things we're really working on with myself, with clients, but consultants with their clients, is they've just copied a blueprint from someone who's not succeeding, but we're not going to post that on Instagram, right? Hey, I'm not doing really well. What we post is, I'm doing great, no matter what. And so we copy that, or it's the tendency to copy and think that someone is projecting their truth on social media, let's say, and we copy a broken pattern.
How do we know that pattern is broken?
Well, we don't. You have to be in intimate knowledge of the owner and say, hey, are you making money? Are you profitable? How many times have I heard in this industry there's no money in Pilates? That's just not true. That's absolutely not true. And there's no reason to own a business if you're not going to be making money. That's like, you just bought yourself a hobby, or, you've bought yourself a job. We should be making money. That idea, that mindset just doesn't, it's not accurate. And we don't really get the truth unless we have one-on-one private conversations with someone. Our industry is especially
secretive.
secretive and people don't share their honest truth, right?
Was that the
So
sanitized answer, secretive?
maybe.
Perhaps. Moving on.
If I
Yes.
look to the side, I'm filtering, and then
Right.
I'm buffer, buffer, buffer.
I picked that up.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just don't think, I think we copy a lot,
Mhm.
and we're copying something that we don't realize doesn't actually work.
Well, we're copying because, 16,000 followers means that you're a successful business person.
Absolutely. Which is so not true. Yeah.
Right.
Just not true at all. I have no followers. I'm doing great. Like
Right.
it's not a
I,
requirement.
Heather, can I tell you, like from the core conversations I've had people who have like a quadrillion followers, and they're great people, and then there's people who have like 300 followers, and they are brilliant. Think, okay, well, clearly this is not your point of emphasis to get people to like you digitally. Um,
Right.
yeah, so no, it's true. So our measures of success, our perceived measures of success, and the truth in quotations that we put out there, can lead us astray. So I hear what you're saying on
Yeah.
that. So when you hear people saying there's no money in Pilates, I've heard people who are fantastic teachers say that. You,
Absolutely.
you know,
Because being a
so
good teacher doesn't make you a good business person. That's
okay,
just, the long and the short of it. And that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to cry, mercy, I give. I'm not good at this. I
right.
should be making a lot of money. If you're, good at what you do and people are happy with the service you provide and you're being asked to present and you have a large following, you should be making money.
Yeah, right. And then that comes back to what you said a minute ago about coaches. Like if I was a real estate agent, every real estate agent I train has a coach, for example. Just an interesting example. So many people that might, guys who are in marketing, they have coaches and stuff, but very few people in the Pilates world lean on coaches. And the vibe that I get from that is there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of defeat.
Mm-hmm.
I know enough that I should be able to do this. I'm not going to finally give in and sign up for so and so's coaching. For why would I want to give them money when I'm a better teacher than them? You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like there's these attitudes that spoken or unspoken are out there around that. So I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a sad thing. Our industry is like a really toxic high school cafeteria, right? Like we just can't get out of this gossip. I am out of it. Let me tell you that. I don't want to put myself at that same table.
Yes.
But what I see is there's this creation of, popularity contests, and if I align with you, I'll be popular. There's just this sort of structure that very much reminds me of the cafeteria in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't benefit anyone, and it especially doesn't benefit those that are in the middle of it.
Right.
But it's like locked and loaded, and
Mm-hmm.
it is the way it is, and it's going to take some really, popular people to break away. And I think that in order for it to become acceptable to break away, right? And
Yes.
I think that's starting to happen. I think,
I think so. Yeah.
where we are right now and the strides we're making right now with demanding inclusivity, demanding respect, not allowing discrimination on our feet. Like it starts with what you say underneath a post in a huge forum, right? Like we're
Yes.
there, we're holding people accountable. We're asking for something better.
Right.
I want to say there's more of us than them, meaning
Mm-hmm.
more of the people who want to see discrimination leave our language, our studios, our conferences, our cafeterias, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, to see it go. I think there's more of us than not.
Right.
And those of us that are ready to see it go are the ones that don't benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder if you benefit from that exclusivity to break free from it. And
Right.
I'm not excusing it. I'm just acknowledging that, like, yeah, I could see that would be really hard. You're the most popular girl in school, and
Hmm.
we're asking you to leave the crowd, right? Like, that's a
Right.
tough thing to do.
Yeah.
And if, add to that like a lack of business acumen, what do I do now? Where do I go now? Right? There's no
Yes.
infrastructure for like, this is how you run a business. As you said, I'm really nobody. I'm just doing my thing in the corner of the world. Nobody knows who I am. I don't want to present, right? I'm not interested in any of that stuff.
Right.
But um but I'm doing this huge thing.
Yeah.
And um I'm happy, and the people around me are happy, and that's really what matters.
Absolutely. The did you see the piece that I did on the PMA when I was on that forum? Okay.
No.
And okay, and that's fine. And the point I'm making with it was they asked the question about where do we see the fitness industry in 5, 10, and 20 years?
Oh, I saw
And
your
my
answer because you shared it, right?
That's
Yeah.
right, yes. So
Mhm.
I shared that answer, and the key word in that wasn't inclusive, diversity or equity. It was authentic. So at this point, you are correct. There are probably more of us than there are of them. But some of those us people are there because it's the right thing to do. Some of those us people
Mm,
there is because they realize that they're going to get called out if they're not erring on this side of history at this point in time, right? Because they know that it's going to become so. And I'm not knocking that. I celebrate all that because it's still movement in the same direction. Like they're still pushing in the same way that I'm pushing. So I'm happy about that. But I still see that we're a long way off from that being authentic, from your heart,
mm,
knee jerk reaction. This is just what I do.
yeah.
I'm hopeful for that day. I'm believing that we're getting to that day, but I also can sniff out when people are like, I guess we should have, if we're talking about that, we really should have this person, that sort of thing.
Yes. And I think, like, I can think of a couple instances where it missed the mark, right? The thing
Hmm.
that the leader in the industry decided to do,
Hmm.
in response to whatever, the Black Lives Matter movement,
Yes.
discrimination and bullying on social media, the thing that most recently happened with Anula.
Hmm.
Um, what was done is a PR
Stuff.
thing,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I mean, for example, the panel that you did with the PMA, to learn that you guys weren't paid to do that is, it's, I don't really have words.
Right.
That's the point, right? Like, pay everyone for their work. You charged people to come, so you pay your presenters. It's a it's a 1 + 1 = 2 equation. There's no other gray area. It's very, very simple.
Right.
And so it's like, a lot is being spoken about how if we open up our doors, if we start to say we're inclusive, right? For whatever marginalized group of people that is,
Yes.
but
Right.
we don't do the work to be
Hmm.
inclusive. So you're inauthentic, you're just saying it because you're saying it because it's the right thing to say right now. Then
Right.
you invite that person into your space, and you're going to be aggressive towards them. You're going to harm them because you didn't do any of the work.
Yes.
So that panel was harmful to the people presenting, not paying them for their work. It clearly missed the point and was just I think, I don't know, I'm
Hmm.
not a part of the PMA any longer, but I think it's a check the box moment. Um, and I just like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't land well, right? There was
Yes.
something
Yes.
that came out yesterday, um, that Pilates Anytime shared. And I watched it, and it didn't land well. Like, it just, I get it. I get the point of it. And I'm
Yes.
here for the message.
Hmm.
But like, some of the ways that the message is being shared, some of the centering, some of the victim stories from the privileged people, some of the chosen speakers who take up too much time when they're the
Hmm.
least marginalized of the panel. Like, I don't
Yes.
want to hear from you, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and there's so much work to be done, and this has been a part of my life forever. I'm not new to this.
Yes.
Um, so I'm here for it, and I'm doing all the work, and I'm learning more about myself, and I'm peeling back ways that I didn't even know that I was biased, prejudiced, racist,
Right.
discriminatory. Like,
Hmm.
I'm raised in the United States. It's part of the United States. It's what was missing when I was in school, and I'm here to learn more and be more and
Yes.
teach more. And yeah, that lack of authenticity is right. Like, be honest about where you are and be honest
Be
about
honest. Yes.
the work
Yeah.
you have to do and pay for it.
Yes. Yes.
So that is my answer. I'm
So,
buffering now. Buffer,
right, yeah.
buffer.
How do you really feel about that? Do you want to start over? The
I feel like
in
that's very
Toronto,
authentic.
yeah, I thought it was pretty suffice. In Toronto, when Kara Stewart Agostino was on, she's a Toronto personal trainer, and I had her on just talking. She had a piece in a national magazine. She shared a story of her area in Toronto where she lives, where a hardware store had like a big banner with their sign on it, and it said "All Lives Matter," right? And gentleman is an immigrant, and he just saw Black Lives Matter and he wanted to say something. So someone brought that to his attention what that really meant. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." So he took it down and put Black Lives Matter up, just like that. And then we're talking about that. I was like, well, that wasn't authentic either. Like, there was no time put into putting in work to understand the experience of Black people when you say all lives matter, nor an understanding of why Black Lives Matter is up everywhere, what the difference between the organization and the philosophy is, and all those different things. So there was no work put in on either end. So she wrote an article about this lessons from a hardware store, where
Mm.
this, it went from all lives matter to Black Lives Matter, just, overnight, just switching it just for the sake of switching it. And, that happens a lot in this world now, where people are just making this about face to be popular, to be correct, to not get called out, whatever the case is, when there still needs to be a lot of work done in understanding who we are in the midst of this climate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much yes.
Yeah. Which is interesting, and it's refreshing talking with you, Heather, because you're coming from a business perspective with it. I love when people come to Pilates from somewhere else, right? So, I mean, I came from the personal training world, still in the fitness industry, but it made me ask some really hard questions of the Pilates I was learning for one reason, and also having a business background, understanding that. So, everything that you said, I heard it as someone in the business world cringing at how our little corner of society is looking at things, more so than someone who teaches Pilates. And I
Mm.
think that we need to put on different lenses when we look at our work if we're going to actually broaden the conversation.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think uh, I don't share this. My identity is not tied up with my Pilates resume. And maybe that's the difference, right?
Yes.
I have an identity outside of my lineage. I have an identity outside of the brand of my reformer. I have an
Mhm.
identity that is different than Pilates, and not right or
Yes.
wrong, just
Yep.
different.
Hmm.
And that allows me to zoom out and see things differently because I'm not so wound up in it. My ego is not so tied up in um, my identity as a Pilates teacher, Pilates business owner, Pilates educator. My identity is tied up more in humanness, in authenticity, in
Yes.
being a good person, treating each other well. That's where I can't see
Yes.
straight, right?
Right.
Um, and that's how I come to this. And that's always been my lens. Those are always the glasses I've been looking through, which is why I've stayed in my hidey hole doing my own thing because I'm very aware of what's happening in the cafeteria. And I
Right.
don't want any part of it. And it distracts me from what I'm here to do. You know, inclusivity is something that has been just woven into the fabric of everything I've ever done.
Hmm.
And with the teacher training in particular, when it went national, Jamie White and I, Poor Star, who's on the call, were joined forces to bring it national. So it had been
Yes.
running in my studio for a while until then, and then she and I brought it out of the studio. And it's just like, this is who we are. We don't know
Yes.
any other way.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's been woven into the fabric of the program from the
Yes.
very start. What we were able to do, though, even we had some blind spots, was, we felt really good about it being okay, reasonable to talk about body size,
Yes.
for it to be okay and reasonable to talk about differences in body composition, right?
Hmm.
These were things that are like, okay, it's a movement practice. Let's
Yes.
make sure that our students understand how not to discriminate based on body shape, size. Um,
Yes.
what we felt very strongly about in our personal lives, but didn't necessarily feel like um, we could bake it into the program, were things like discrimination on ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, and
Yes.
ability.
Okay.
And so when everything started to bubble this summer, um, it became so obvious, like, no, this is actually something we do in Pilates all the time.
Yes.
In Jamie and I's practice in particular, the people that we work with, the studios that we own and that Jamie owned, like, this is part of what we do, and it's been very thoughtful in the brick and mortar studios and in our client
Yes.
base and all of that. So we created new curriculum to include how a Pilates teacher can be discriminatory against, a huge
Amazing.
list of marginalized groups of people. Um,
Yes.
and we now teach our students uh, the things you would assume, right? Like, so
Hmm.
body size, if someone's larger, you assume they can't do it. They can't do the exercise. And that's not true at all.
Hmm.
And so we teach them, don't make that assumption, right? Don't
Right.
start with a regression. Don't be rude.
Hmm.
Um, don't decide anything. You teach the exercise and you
Yes.
regress if needed, or modify or vary if needed, whatever words that work for you.
Yes.
And so we've now baked that into our curriculum, because what became clear on the forums and with PMA and, all, like, what became so clear is it's not spoken about,
Right.
and it needs to be.
And it needs to be.
So,
The when you decide to go from just an in-house program to a national program, did you have this feeling of like, let me put my bulletproof vest on before I go outside?
oh my God. The whole reason I kept to myself is because I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yes.
I am a strong person, but I'm still human at the end of the day. So
Hmm.
I really didn't want to be the target. I didn't want to be the name at the top of the post on that huge forum and be torn apart. I just didn't
Yes.
want it.
Hmm.
And what happened in 2017 is there was just this collision
Sorry.
of,
Sorry, Jamie's like,
yeah,
yes.
there was this collision of, like, I just didn't care anymore. All of a
Good.
sudden, I don't know if it's age, if it's, success in the industry, what, I just, all of a sudden that fear just left. Like, what, who cares?
Yeah, actually, I kind of just jump in that because I've said that
Yeah.
before on posts on Finish Strong Fridays and stuff. When we finally get to that I don't care anymore moment, that's when we have a breakthrough. That's when we start to really truly flow in our area of passion, when we can unapologetically be ourselves and we are braced for impact with whatever is going to come at us afterwards. So good for you, because that's the period. A lot of people don't ever do that. And then they sit
That's
there and
right.
complain and they just spin their wheels and they stay in this place of complacency and mediocrity because they never put their neck on the line. So the fact that you got through that to that I don't care place totally set you up for everything else you need to do. So good for you on that. And that is the place that we need to all get to with whatever our area of passion is.
Yeah, I'd
Yes.
agree. JB had a big part in getting me to that place, and not to share too much about her story, but she left the industry because of all this toxicity. And
Mm.
came back just to help me out. Um, so yeah, it's very freeing. It's really, really
Good for
freeing to
you.
get to a place where it just doesn't matter. There's nothing
Hmm.
that can be said about me on a forum or in real life that's going to change anything about the way that I do business, right? Like
Right.
it's not going to change my life. I probably wouldn't even see it. Someone's going to probably send it to me because I don't participate in any of that stuff.
Hmm.
So I might not even know about it if it happens. But
Right.
uh, yeah, it's a very freeing place to just go for it and do what's right. And I'm so like I watching the students come up in our program, um, and what they do and who they teach and what they say and how they are is like I, I mean, I don't even have words. It's just so amazing. All the people that I wished I could have worked with when I was new, we're growing
Yes.
them now. Like,
Yes.
and I know that they exist, and most of them are off in their hiding places, right? Like, that's actually
Right.
who we attract as the host for our program. Are these people who's like, is it safe to come out now?
Right.
There's a 10 of us, right? But we're
Right.
just like, I'm over here doing my thing.
Yes.
And so watching this happen is like, gives me chills. It's tear worthy.
Yes. Love that. That's so amazing. That's why I'm happy you're here today, because
Thank you.
people need to hear those stories of amazing people like you.
Thank you.
That's why you're the important person I needed to have on today.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. I reached out to Blossom to thank her for recommending me to you, and she was very thoughtful in her words as well.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I don't really want to get out there in front of everybody. I really don't.
Hmm.
But I know that it's important because what we're doing is so important and so revolutionary in our
Hmm.
industry. Um, you know, when Jamie and I picked our faculty, our founding faculty, the most important thing was that they were kind, like good teachers,
Yes.
amazing teachers, the best
Right.
teachers, but
Yeah.
that they're kind.
Right. I know that. Check, check, check. But are you a kind
I
person?
mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't an easy task, you know,
Mm.
to
Yeah.
find those people.
Yep.
Um, it wasn't like, yeah, okay, we can just ask everyone. That was not true at all.
Right.
So,
Right. I've been joking about that with my space here. Like, I'm looking for staff, and it's like a job posting would be like looking for blank, 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 blank. And this is like, and you could park your unicorn out front while you're at it. Because I mean, like, where are you going to find those people? Like, you have to really reach out and build those relationships first to connect with those people, right? Like, I'm sure you didn't
yeah,
have like a straight blind resume come in that was like, oh, you're perfect.
no. And as a matter of fact, once we opened it up to bridging, we were working with people that we didn't know, and it didn't work out in a few cases.
Right.
And we learned more about who they were, and they're not a fit for our organization.
That's
Um,
healthy too.
and yeah, so, ugh, but yeah, I mean, I've been hiring and firing on these core values in Houston for over 10 years in my studio. And I will say, like, yeah, in that, listing for Pilates teacher at Pure Body Studio, you betcha there's, you ride in on your unicorn and you share your rainbows. And I ask for exactly what I want. And I've been really blessed. To have an amazing team that
Yeah.
is, has been with me. Most of them have been with me for a really long time.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
for sure. You said about gifts earlier and how you don't want to be out there. I see that happen with my wife a lot wherever she goes, because she was a general manager and she has an amazing work ethic. Like, when she goes somewhere, it's 6 months before she's running the whole show. And she's like, I just want to come in and just make some money or just help out and leave. And next thing you know, she's organizing stuff and she's leading a team and she's all these different things. You can't hide from your gifts. Your gifts put you in front of people. And as much as you want to stay under a rock, not you personally, but just in general, like whenever we think like, I'll just like stay over here with my gifts, it's going to thrust you in front of people. It is going to just attract more people with similar gifts. So I've come to a place where I just like, okay, yes, like that happens with me where I'm just like, you want to just do your thing and grow. And getting invited to ask and being invited to lead on things, getting invited to, and it's not like it just I blindly say yes to everything. It's I know that they are in line with my passions, they're in line with my vision, they're in line with what I'm most excited about. So I recognize that that is my gifts making room for me. So
Mhm.
as you're living that out, it's really cool to see that, like, yeah, you don't need to have 75 trillion followers to be doing a good job making money and changing lives. You can just do it from where you are and just know that when it's time to go national, that national spot's there. It's been waiting for you. Your gifts open that up. So it's cool. I mean, for those who are watching it who feel like you could just sit in your home studio in your basement and just do that, be ready. Like, be ready.
Yeah, your gifts making room for you. That's a nugget. That's a takeaway.
Mm, yep, you're living that out.
Yeah, that's
Can you
amazing.
talk, is probably along the same lines, but like your hashtag, I don't know whose hashtag it was around that you can sit with us.
Yeah, that's mine.
Hmm.
Um, And so that's for pure body teacher training. And the idea is, this division. So it starts with classical versus contemporary. We're a classical program, but we're not anti-contemporary.
Okay.
Um, and so, it starts there. It weaves its way to, lineage discrimination, to position discrimination, equipment, like, blah, blah, blah. Um,
Yes.
and the hashtag came in 2016-17. And it's funny because Pilates Nerd put out her You Can Sit With Us Wonder Chair shirt at the same time. And we were about to
Oh,
launch at PMA and she posted and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm texting Karen, like, this is our hashtag too. I hope that's okay. We didn't steal from you, just
right.
making
Yes.
making it clear, like I can show you where I posted it months ago. So it's kind of funny. So we got to buy that shirt at that same conference and wear
Oh, there you
the
go.
Pilates Nerd
Yes.
Wonder Chair, You Can Sit With Us shirt. But the point of it is that we're we're not interested in those things that divide us. And
Hmm.
it's really like back to that image of the cafeteria. Like you
Yes.
can sit at our table.
Yes.
You are invited to sit with us. And, if you're a jerk, you shouldn't stay.
Hmm.
If you're one of those people causing divide, we really don't want that.
Hmm.
So the invitation is open, but if your authentic self is one that doesn't align with our core values, then no, we're probably not for you and you're not for us.
Right.
Um, but that's the idea, to attract people of all everything, all the things, right? It doesn't
Yes. Yes.
matter what defines you or what basis you've been discriminated on. That is so unfortunate, but we are here for you.
Yes.
Um, it started as like classical contemporary lineage stuff,
Hmm.
Pilates drama, and quickly opened to, this is meant for everyone.
Everyone.
um, like you said, and everyone, like Pilates is for everybody. And the cool
Yes.
thing about this career is, you know you can apply the Pilates system to everyone. It's applicable to everyone.
Applicable to
So
everyone. Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, like if so what you were talking about before I got on about picking a niche, and does that make you a discriminating person because you are, wanting to work more with one group or another? It's an interesting topic, but also Pilates gives me the opportunity to work with whoever I want
Hmm.
and share my gifts, right? Your gifts are making room for you, then you're going to be, we're all going to be something really special for
Yes.
someone. And maybe
Right.
that's like a general someone, and maybe that's a very specific someone. I
Hmm.
spent a decade working with only people who were so complicated they couldn't work with anybody else.
Yes.
And rods and pins and multiple pathologies and neurological and auto, like you name it, it was complicated and no one else could do
Yes.
it. And I just, like, there was a day where I was like, you know what, this doesn't bring me joy anymore. I want to teach
Hmm.
other people in my studio to do what I'm doing. And I'm not excited to show up for work anymore. I am
Right.
excited when someone cancels. There's that moment where
Yep.
it's just like,
Right.
I'm done with this.
Yes.
And I completely went the other way. And now I work with advanced movers and professional athletes. Like, the
Yes.
pendulum swung from me from one
Right.
all the way to the other side. And I don't feel like I'm discriminating against complex pathologies. It's just not the place where I can shine right now. I'm not
Right
excited
now.
about it. I'm
Yes.
not doing you a service by just sort of showing up and running through the checklist, right? Like,
Yes.
there was a time where I got so excited for the smallest increment of improvement. And because that's really what we're excited about with that
Yes.
demographic.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that's gone. Like, I'm not doing what I should be doing anymore.
Right.
And the cool thing about Pilates is it gives me the tool bag to just like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to do
It's
something
so
different.
translatable. Yep. Yep.
Yep. And I don't have to leave my industry or change my job or close my studio or
Right.
redefine myself, right? I'm
Right.
just now I'm authentically trying to reach different people,
Yes.
and work with a different group of people and share my gifts with a different group.
Yes. I love it. Heather, we could talk for another 2 hours. This is it's so rich, and I love that. Just what you're saying there about changing, like the keyword was right now, right? Because I mean, like 6 months from now, a 7-year-old could walk into your studio, and 2 years from now, you are the authority on working with people under the age of 10, right?
Absolutely.
So who knows, right? So
Hmm.
that's how translatable our skill set is once you are passionate about the tools you have, right? So
Hmm.
really, really good. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for asking me. This was so nice. It's nice to talk to another person right now, right? It's not one-sided, two-way. You have the gift for conversing. I was thinking about, I actually went to a workshop in New York because I am not good at the back and forth.
Okay.
Um, and I was like, wow, that's really a gift that you have to be able to get people talking and have people share. So thank you. It doesn't go unnoticed on me that that's a skill set and one that I don't have. So I so appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. I will send you the replay later. Thank you, everyone who's been on here and just like sending in your comments and sending Heather your love.
Thank you, everybody.